So you've shot and butchered your deer and now you're wondering what the best way to cook it is. Personally, I think a venison schnitzel is the way to go. Let me teach you how to do it right now. Hey there, Chris Waters here, the Huntsman, with my favorite recipe on how you cook venison schnitzel. So this is actually Samba that I shot about 12 months ago. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut these up into medallions like you see here. I'm gonna dress the meat and I'm gonna make the schnitzels. I've got a fire pit going here over on the side and it's burning down to coals so it's ready, not too hot. So the first step we're gonna do is actually dress this meat. So what I've done is I've taken some schnitzels here and I'm just cutting off the grey section of it. So we just kind of want this nice red flesh here. So here's an example of one that doesn't have it to it. So we'll go ahead and cut this one. You don't need to be really precious as well when you're cutting off this silvery grey meat, because we will be going ahead and mashing this, tenderizing the meat to get it really thin. Because when you're cooking it over a hot surface, you want to make sure that it's really thin. Because again, deer can be a little bit chewy. So just make sure when you're going through, cut it off. I've cut off probably a little bit too much of the flesh there, but that's okay. Just more for my dog Baxter. There you go, buddy. So that's looking pretty good there. Any bits on the side, obviously any tendon you want to cut off, you want it to be as good looking as possible. That's looking pretty good, although we've got some here on the side, so we'll cut that off. And I think unfortunately there's just a bit of a preconception regarding deer and venison, that it's a gamey and chewy and kind of dirty meat. But my experience is completely contrary to that. I think venison is a fantastic form of protein. It's absolutely delicious. And personally, I wouldn't use the word gamey. I use the word rich. I think our palate has become too accustomed to chicken and pork and beef here in the West, and lamb, especially in Australia. There you go, Bax, over there, mate. And I think we can learn to adjust that palate and kind of richen it and deepen it. And venison is certainly a great way that you can do that. And venison schnitzels is like great for the kids as well, because you know they look at schnitzels and all they see is just a deep fried breadcrumb, which is honestly something that I see as well. All right, so now that we've moved all the grey off the meat, the next step in the process is one of my favorites, is to tenderize the meat. So go get a mallet like this, especially if you have a spiky edge, that's particularly good for tenderizing. And all you do is you get your meat and you put it in the middle, and you just beat the living daylights out of it. You kind of want it like about a centimetre or less thick. So this one's obviously quite big. Don't be precious about it, just go to town. Obviously mind your fingers. That's a good thickness quite there. All right, now that our meat is tenderized, the next step in the process is to put it aside and to get our egg. Now, I've chosen to get some eggs from our property, but obviously you can get eggs wherever you've got. You just need one egg. One egg probably does about a serving of 4, so it's pretty simple. You just go get your egg, crack it into the bowl, grab your whisker, and just give her a whisk. All right, so we've got our egg over here. What we want to do is put a little bit of milk in there as well, and crack some salt and pepper in it as well. So I've got some milk over here. I'm gonna pour a little bit. Don't need too much. This is just gonna bind the egg to the meat, which is then gonna bind the meat to the breadcrumbs. I'm gonna go put that aside. So then you can grab your salt and pepper. Chuck a bit of salt in that mix, crank a bit of pepper. Again, how much you want is kind of just like up to you really. Comes down to your personal taste and preference. I love a lot of pepper, so I tend to put a fair bit in. All right, got that mixture done. If you want to whisk it again, you can give it another whisk. Just bring it all together. Next up, we want to get a bowl and put our flour in. This is just plain flour, nothing crazy, nothing simple. You just want enough to coat your meat. That should be plenty. And so the last ingredient we need is breadcrumbs. So again, just grab another little bowl, grab your breadcrumbs, chuck it in. I always make too much breadcrumbs for some reason. You don't need heaps. Kind of half a bowl, a little bit more maybe. You can tell this is not an exact recipe, I'm going by feel here. All right, so the next step in the process is to take the meat and dip it into the flour. So I'm gonna put this over here, this down here. Dip it into the flour, like that. Just coat it all around. When you've done that, go ahead, Dip it in your egg. Just swish them all around. After you've done your egg, make sure you drain it because you want to keep as much of your egg as possible. Drop them in your breadcrumbs. Move him around just to make sure he's fully covered. Alright, now that that's done, the next step in the process is to grab your pan. In this situation, I'm actually using this Dutch oven because I'm putting it again on the fireplace. So I'm just going to grab some canola oil like this and just pour it into the bottom of the dish, making sure that I have just enough to submerge the schnitzels in it. You don't want more than that, you don't want less than that. So once you've done that, it's simply a matter of putting your pan or your Dutch oven or whatever you're using to fry your schnitzels onto the fire. Alright, I reckon she's about right now. It's feeling pretty good. So then all you want to do is just grab your first schnitzel, drop him in. Oh yeah, that's good. And then proceed and just put them all in. You don't want to crowd them too much. If you put it in and it doesn't start to bubble, you know you're not hot enough. So you need to go back in and heat it up a little bit more. They won't take long to cook as well. Once you put them in, it happens very, very quickly, so you need to keep your eye on it. Get ready to turn them if they're not fully submerged. You'll literally see them browning up as you go. In terms of how well you've done them, it really comes down to you and your own personal taste. Personally, I like to have a little bit of kind of golden brown crispiness on the top, but not too black. So I think one of the reasons why I enjoy this cooking method so much, and this recipe in particular, is because of how easy it is. You can stock all this stuff at camp, you can go out there, you can shoot the deer, bring it home, harvest it, maybe take the back strap out, and cook this up the night you've shot it, which will just be one of the best meals you'll ever have in your life. Especially if it's a cold day or a cold night. Throw in some red wine or a beer with some friends. Can't get much better than that. And there you have it, beautiful venison schnitzel. Put a bit of salt on it, put a bit of pepper on it, put a bit of lemon on it, and then you can just enjoy it like I'm going to now. That's actually ridiculously good. So let me know if you have your own venison or deer schnitzel recipe, maybe even just a deer recipe. Let me know in the comment section below. I want to hear it. It's always great to celebrate the amazing efforts and knowledge and wisdom that is in the hunting community. Also, if you haven't checked out the rest of the channel, make sure you go do that. There's some great Australian hunting videos on there, and hopefully I see you in a video soon. I'm gonna get some more.